Be sure to check out Rob Plays. There you can hang out with me while we play video games and talk about life stuff. So what I want to do here is begin getting into what I consider to be one of the best stories ever written in Marvel Comics, Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four. But because this story is so expansive and there's other things that I want to cover, this series will actually serve as a backdrop, and that in addition to my other videos, this series will be uploaded as well, allowing for 2-a-days until we finish. So instead of going through and providing a large narrative on why the story was written, instead, what I want to do here is provide this information as we progress through the series itself. And the reason why is that for Hickman's Fantastic Four, the series actually draws this emphasis from the entire history of the team, with special emphasis placed on Civil War. What I mean here is that with this story having started in 2009 and Civil War having been written in 2006, prior to Civil War, Reed's role within the Marvel Universe was largely that of an explorer and chronicler of science and technology. However, during the events of Civil War, and because the conflict was a symptom of a larger problem involving the warring nature of humanity, Reed Richards set about to quite literally solve the problem of everything. Opening up with Reed Richards and his father Nathaniel, this particular bit of the story is something I'd like you to keep in the back of your head, since the concept of father and son will be a recurring theme throughout this series, especially because the story itself largely emphasizes Franklin Richards. But this moment comes to us as a flashback to Reed's childhood. While we will learn more about the relationship between the two, within the realm of Marvel Comics, Nathaniel Richards first appeared in Fantastic Four number 272 as the father of Reed, albeit in an absentee form. However, with these original appearances from John Byrne, almost no information was offered about Nathaniel save the fact that he abandoned Reed Richards and his mother 3 years before the Fantastic Four gained their powers. What this expansion of Hickman does is establish that the moral compass of Reed in terms of his willingness to fail for the sake of discovering hails from the lessons handed down to him by his father, who plays a significant part in his life despite having been gone for so long. But following this flashback, we jump to the present day with the Fantastic Four facing off against a villain known as the Wizard. Now in truth, this battle is not really designed to play any major or significant part. Instead, this is simply designed to show us what the Fantastic Four are doing in the current day, and that this era of their lives has them fighting as superheroes. And so with the Wizard defeated almost immediately, after sifting through the robots of the Wizard, the Fantastic Four come to the realization that the Wizard himself has been building robots designed to work as proxies, carrying out his will through destruction. Now while this seems like the normal actions of a villain, after accessing one of the robot's self-destruct mechanisms and tracing the signal back to its source, Reed arrives at the Wizard's lair, only to discover that he's been systematically developing a race of robotic humans and children. While we don't know exactly what the purpose behind this is, Hickman provides us with an explanation when the story shifts its focus to the aftermath in the Baxter Building, where Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm go about their normal actions of jibing one another. During a conversation with Sue, Reed's mind jumps back to the Wizard who argued off-panel that humanity would inevitably destroy itself. Now again, this ties directly into Civil War, and that with Tony Stark operating as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the 50-state initiative in place, which is to say, a government-sanctioned superhero team in all 50 states, because Civil War split the superhero community down the middle with the remainder of Steve Rogers' Avengers operating underground, the Wizard's claim of society's imminent destruction rings in the mind of Reed, who's put his brain to task and appears to have come to the same conclusion. And so taking to a room within the Baxter Building which is off limits to everyone else, we discover that in addition to the litany of ideas in the mind of Reed, his top goal at the moment appears to be his desire to solve the problem of everything. Now this bit is extremely important because what Hickman's going to do is effectively turn the entirety of the Fantastic Four concept on its head. Stepping into a multidimensional bridge, something that I hope you notice is that if you see my videos on Time Runs Out, this looks almost identical to the device used by Reed to view the multiverse in an attempt to decipher why the multiverse was collapsing prior to Secret Wars. It's for this reason that if you choose to, the writings of Jonathan Hickman within Marvel Comics can actually be read in isolation and in chronological order, revealing a complete story unto itself, dealing with multiple facets of the superhuman community. That said, after initially speaking to a disembodied voice, we learn that these men are actually different versions of Reed from different realities. What we're told is that Reed Richards of Earth 6590 and Reed Richards of Earth 12 hail from realities where the Fantastic Four were exposed to the cosmic radiation that granted their powers, but instead of developing the power to stretch their bodies, one gained the abilities of Johnny Storm, and the other gained the abilities of Susan Storm. Now, while Hickman will touch lightly on the fates of the other Fantastic Four members from each of these continuities, for the moment, Reed's taken before the Council of Reeds within a hall that exists outside of all space and time. As a result, the Council is able to perform their work within the hall without having to worry about negatively impacting the multiverse around them. In addition to this, after entering the hall proper, we learn that the Council consists of a litany of Reeds from different realities and with different powers. As an example, in one reality, Reed Richards is a mutant that leads the X-Men, but in another reality, he became the Silver Surfer or Doctor Strange. However, before being able to receive a proper tour and after the Council is alerted to an invasion of Earth by Galactus in the 2012 reality, Reed is greeted by 3 versions of himself, with each one wielding an Infinity Gauntlet. So with Fantastic Four number 571, the comic picks up where 570 left off, with the Council preparing to do battle against Galactus of Earth 2012. Now on its face, where this seems to be a massive conflict that 7 of the Reeds have assembled to face off against Galactus and 3 Silver Surfers, we actually learn that each of these Reeds is wielding an ultimate nullifier. Now to sidetrack for a second, if you recall my comic concepts video on the ultimate nullifier itself, we had talked about how the device serves to completely extinguish and eliminate anything in existence up to and including the universe. While I wouldn't say that this is a glaring plot hole, Marvel had previously established that there was no limit to what the ultimate nullifier could destroy within any given universe, meaning that a person with the intelligence and willpower of Reed Richards only really needs one. However, with there being 7 nullifiers here, the indication is that perhaps this version of Galactus is too powerful to be destroyed by a single nullifier, but it's entirely possible that Hickman missed this piece of information. But regardless of the reason for this, following the off-panel destruction of Galactus, we switch to Earth 8901 as Reed is being educated about the Council's purpose. What we're told is that the Reed from Earth 8901 initially put his mind to task of solving the universe's issue of hunger by terraforming a section of a barren and uninhabitable planet. While we're not told how this was initially done, what we are told is that over time, this 25 square mile patch grew to cover the entire planet and extended to other worlds within this universe. As a result, the Reed of Earth 8901 turned his sights to feeding the hungry throughout the multiverse by using the food from these planets to send supplies through an interdimensional portal to other realities. In addition to this, while Reed Richards from the Earth 8901 reality does possess an Infinity Gauntlet, the gauntlet only works in the reality that it hails from. Now this bit of information is extremely important, and the reason why is that prior to this revelation, the only information on the limits of the gauntlet came during the 2003 crossover JLA and Avengers, when Darkseid picked up the gauntlet but couldn't use it. However, with this statement, Hickman effectively wrote the limit of the gauntlet in stone, making it in continuity, which has remained an aspect of his existence ever since. Now from here, we jump to the Earth 45 reality on day 3 of Reed's education and pick up with the darker side of the Council. What we learn here is that because the Council exists to solve the problem of everything, not every solution is peaceful or honorable. Instead, the Council must occasionally delve into the realm of the unthinkable in order to keep the multiverse safe. In this instance, because every story that involves Dr. Doom sees him attempting to gain absolute power for the goal of ruling that reality, the Council had taken it upon themselves to capture each iteration of Dr. Doom which had aspired to evil. As a result, and within the tomb below the main Council chamber, are countless versions of Doom who have had inhibitor collars placed around their necks, which destroys higher brain functions and turns each version of Doom into a vegetable. Now on its face, this seems like an outrageous situation and a complete paradox to the role of the Council in serving as a guiding force for the universe, but in truth, I actually agree with it. To sidetrack for a second, when I was younger, I read a book called Injustice: What's the Right Thing to Do by Michael Sandel, and in it, he provided a scenario of a trolley train. In this situation, you're the conductor of a trolley when the brakes go out, and the only recourse you have is to adjust the tracks. If you stay on course, you'll kill 5 construction workers, but if you adjust course, you'll kill only 1. This situation falls directly in line with the utilitarian philosophy of doing the greatest good for the greatest number of people. However, the other side of this equation is the line drawing. If everyone who demonstrates incorrigible evil is stripped of their freedom, and the goal of the Council is to solve the problem of everything, then stripping everyone of their freedom is the only logical conclusion to eliminating war and conflict. Now, while this does spiral out into a ton of new arguments, I'm actually curious as to whether or not you all agree with the idea of the Council stripping Doom of his freedom and his mind. But following this situation, we transition to another flashback of Reed having a conversation with his father. Discussing his troubles at school, instead of the issue being that Reed is constantly picked on, the problem that he faces is that no one in school is able to keep up with him on an intellectual level, and that because of his intelligence, Reed feels like an outcast. Offering words of comfort, Nathaniel states that the intelligence Reed possesses is a struggle at his young age because he's not in a position to use it properly. But when the time comes to truly help the world, Reed will be able to expand beyond his own sphere of influence and help more people than he can imagine. And so, using this as a basis, on the 6th day, Reed is welcomed before the council and asked to make a choice to whether or not he's going to join the council and solve the problem of everything. However, before the council is able to successfully induct Reed into their ranks, the hall is besieged by unseen forces. Switching to one of the Reeds who makes mention that the bridge of the multiverse has been compromised, what we're told is that a member of the council had stumbled into the Earth 4280 reality and discovered that the Celestials of that universe had become mad with power. Instead of serving to explore and experiment, the Celestials instead used their combined abilities to destroy the reality's versions of Galactus, Eternity, and the other cosmic entities, after which they forced the inhabitants of the universe to worship them. And so as this video winds down, taking the council member and accessing his mind through telepathy, the Celestials learned of the council's existence and launched an attack with the intention of expanding their sphere of influence to all realities. With that being said, we're going to bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.